Hey, Morning Manna family. We are at the end of this week's study on Sabbath, and really we've just scratched the surface of the life and joy God provides us through this gift. In Genesis 2:3, when God established the Sabbath, he blessed it and made it holy. This is the first use of the word holy in the Bible. That actually kind of surprised me. The first time a word is used in Scripture provides key understanding to its meaning in the rest of Scripture. That's the hermeneutical principle, or hermeneutics is the art and science of studying Scripture. That hermeneutical principle is called the law of first mention. Holy means to be consecrated or set apart to God. As we read through the Old and New Testament, we will also learn that holy means pure, morally and ritually without blemish. God himself is holy, and he calls us to be holy. 1 Peter chapter 1, verses 14 through 16 say, "As obedient children, do not be conformed to the passions of your former ignorance, but as he who has called you is holy, you also be holy in your conduct. Since it is written," and he's going to quote Leviticus 11:44 here, "You shall be holy, for I am holy." Holiness, purity, consecration, to be set apart by and for God. That's what we're called to. Jesus made that possible through his life, death, and resurrection that delivered us from slavery to sin and restored us to relationship with God. Jesus did all the work necessary to make us holy, to purify us. But to live a life that's holy, a life that reflects God's holiness, requires us to choose to live a life that's set apart, a life that looks like Jesus. Sabbath does not make us holy, but practicing Sabbath can help us develop the discipline of being set apart and devoted to God. Let's be practical for a moment. I told you I was not going to tell you how you must observe the Sabbath. I'm also not going to tell you when you must observe the Sabbath. But if God's been stirring your heart to take a step toward him in this ancient rhythm, I want to give you some practical ideas on how to begin leaning into that. Yes, historically, biblically, we know that Sabbath is a 24-hour time period on the seventh day of the week. This time began at sunset on one day and ended on sunset of the next day. For some, practicing Sabbath in this specific way is possible, and it'll be a joy. For others, clearing your schedule for that is like asking you to scale Mount Everest. Sabbath is a lifestyle of working from a place of rest, but it's also a practice of faith to cease our work at an appointed time and trust God with his provision for our time off and the future provision of our return to work. This could start as the commitment to work diligently within the time frame you're allotted at work and not taking work home with you at night. It could begin with a weekly dinner with family or friends that centers around thanking God for his provision. It could be a slow morning that starts with praise and worship and stays disconnected from technology for a set amount of time. However you choose to lean into this practice, it's a time to remember that we were made in the image of God and to refocus our attention from our efforts to his glory. Sabbath is intended to be the catalyst of our week, not just to be relegated to the triage for the toil left behind us. Before God gave us an assignment, he made us in his image, and Sabbath invites us routinely, as the old hymn says, to turn our eyes upon Jesus, to look full in his wonderful face, and the things of earth will grow strangely dim in the light of his glory and grace. Thanks, Manna Church. See you later.